Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here along with Sean.
What's up, guys?
And today, guys, we got another video talking about the NFC. We're, of course, going to be talking about more prediction videos. And, of course, what better way to start off the predictions videos than to talk about the NFC North? But before we talk about the NFC North, remember to hit that like button. Also, remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We are at about 668 subscribers. Can we get to 700 by the end of this month? And also, guys, remember to hit that like button. Can we get at least 10 likes on this video? But nevertheless, Sean, let's talk about the NFC North. And this division is kind of an interesting one, I would say, because I feel like it's just a two-team heavy race, basically, between the top echelon team. But let's talk about the number 4 team. And I don't know if you're in agreement with me or if you're disagreements with me, but for me, I have the Detroit Lions being the number 4 team in the division.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I am going to disagree. I think the Bears are going to be in last place in the division here. I think, Mitch Trubisky, I think he's going to, maybe survive 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks if they really want to give him a shot. But I think he's going to end up getting benched, and they're going to end up putting Nick Foles as the starting QB, and that might, sort of save their season. I see them going like 4-12, 5-11. I really don't see them making much of an impact. I definitely trust Matt Stafford more. So, I mean, for me, the Bears are going to be the bottom feeders of that division. I don't think they added enough within the draft. I don't think they have enough weapons. Yes, they got Allen Robinson. And so that's another reason why I think that, potentially Nick Foles could step up into the starting position. He already has chemistry with Allen Robinson, both of them coming from Jacksonville. But I just don't see the Bears having done enough to really, win many games this year. They have Khalil Mack on defense, and they got Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn's a little washed up, but I think I really just don't think they're going to have enough to push over that line. I think it's going to be 4-12 or 5-11, but I have them in last place for the division.
I mean, I can see where you're going with that, but for me, the reason why I have the Detroit Lions at number 4 is because their defense is in shambles. Although I like some of the pickups that they had, I like Jeff Okudah. I like some of the other players that they picked up. Julian Okwara, defensive end player. There's a lot of players that I like on this, but the problem that I always have is that Matt Stafford seems to always kind of be in this weird funk where maybe if he was on a better team with better, maybe the Detroit Lions just don't have the right front office executive. Because I'm really trying to think about how they haven't been at least contenders they have been at some points, but for like the last couple of years, it seems like they've been very disappointing. Their defense has given up so many touchdowns over the past couple of years that I think that's the reason why I'm not a big fan of the Detroit Lions. I feel like they lose games more often than they win them in terms of they're in that winning position, but they end up just losing those games. So I know that Matt Stafford has one of the better track records of fourth quarter comebacks and completions and all that stuff, but when I look at their weapons, obviously they have Marvin Jones, Kenny Galloway, they have Danny Amendola now. But to be honest, their defense just doesn't impress me enough to where I think that they're just going to look like Swiss cheese out there. You're going to have receivers, you're going to have running backs going left and right on this Detroit Lions. Especially we've seen the Packers and the Vikings do it to these guys. So the Detroit Lions, to me, they just don't have enough to really warrant them to get past the Bears, who I think defensively are good enough and remind me more of a young Seahawks team in terms of having such a great defense, but the quarterback just wasn't there yet.
It's a bold statement, young Seahawks team. It's the greatest defense of all time you're talking about. Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I'm going to put the Lions in 3rd, and, I think they're consistently average. That's just what they do. Matt Stafford's a gunslinger. I think he's a good quarterback. He can throw 5,000 yards every season if he's healthy. No matter what wide receivers he has around him. Marvin Jones will be pretty good with them. Danny Amendola's, he's not great, but Kenny Galladay is really good. They also got DeAndre Swift, and DeAndre Swift is kind of a monster. So, I really think that DeAndre Swift is going to end up with the starting job over Kerryon Johnson. I hope they find good ways to incorporate him into the offense. And then, on defense, they added Jeff Okudah, and I think, they improved their defensive line too. Looks like they have 3 new defensive linemen. They got Danny Shelton, who went to UW, here in Washington. He's a good player. If he can really turn around his career. He hasn't done a ton in his first couple of years, but he has a ton of potential. They also got Trey Flowers from New England, and Jamie Collins from New England. What I'm seeing here is they actually took 3 defensive players from New England, and that was a really good defense. So I think the Lions have a chance to turn it around here if Stafford can stay healthy. I don't see any reason why they won't be in third place. For me, I have them probably sitting around 500, maybe 9-7. There's a chance that they could compete for a wild card spot, but that's why I have them in third place.
Yeah, I think for me with the Chicago Bears is the head coach to me is the biggest thing for them. When you have Matt Nagy versus Matt Patricia, I think Patricia is a very average to very below average coach. I don't really think he knows what he's doing out there. I think Matt Nagy turned Mitch Trubisky into some sort of magical quarterback his first year. Obviously, the magic wears off because teams study you, they study your playbook, they study how the tendencies of that player. So obviously, I think now is the time for Matt Nagy to actually make the switch now and go with Nick Foles as the starting quarterback and have Mitch Trubisky as the backup at this point, because you're really not taking advantage of someone like Allen Robinson, right? Or someone for a running back position. You have Tariq Cohen, you have David Montgomery. I mean, there's a lot of great pieces that you have to your disposal. And I know Nick Foles isn't the best quarterback in the world. I know that he won a Super Bowl. I think that he's probably one of the most overrated quarterbacks of all time, in my opinion. But I think that Nick Foles can do enough with this roster to get them to at least, like you said, at least for, in my opinion, it's, instead of the Lions, like an 8-8 or even a 7-9. I think that they're just not good enough offensively, in my opinion, and it all comes down to the quarterback. When your team doesn't have a quarterback, you're of course going to not be a very good team. And, Mitch Trubisky can only take him so far. If you need to make a clutch throw, you need to make a big throw, Trubisky's not making it. I think Nick Foles only makes them in the playoffs. He's one of those quarterbacks that only performs during the playoffs for some reason. I don't know why, but I think that's the reason why I'm going with that. And I like Danny Trevathan, another great defensive player for the Bears. I like their whole linebacking crew, actually. Roquan Smith, Robert Quinn. They're Kyle Fuller, a great corner for them. I think they have a lot of good pieces on defense. Offensively, they have Jimmy Graham now. But is it enough for their quarterback to overcome his shortcomings? No. And I think that's the reason why they're going to be a 7-9 team.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense. I do see, Nick Foles taking the starting job, but I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think they're going to give Mitch Trubisky too many games for them to be able to make a chance at moving up in the division. And they might be better off for it getting a lower draft pick. So that's just the way I see it.
All right, let's move on to the number 2 team. Sean, who do you have for number 2?
Yeah, so for number 2 for me, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. And I know that will probably surprise a lot of people. Aaron Rodgers has been carrying for a lot of years, but to me, I think this draft was a big middle finger to Aaron Rodgers and telling them that they're ready to move on from him. They didn't get him any weapons. They had a chance to get him some really good players, and they just did not get him any weapons. That was his issue. He did beat my Seahawks, and he beat them without a lot of weapons, but they didn't do anything to improve. He's a year older. His team, in my opinion, has gotten worse. They have Devontae Adams, he's a little injury prone, but outside of Devontae Adams, they really don't have much going for them. They have Aaron Jones, and they drafted another running back, even though they had that two-headed monster in Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. They got A.J. Dillon. But, Aaron Rodgers is a gunslinger, so drafting another running back for him isn't really going to do much. And when you look at the defense, they didn't do much to improve it. I don't really see, any big signings there. They do have Zadarius Smith at linebacker. He's pretty good, but for me, Aaron Rodgers kind of got thrown under the bus, and the fact that they drafted Jordan Love shows me that they're preparing for that next step, and maybe they don't expect themselves to be contenders anymore going forward. they this past year might have been that last shot for Aaron Rodgers, because he's made a couple NFC championships, and he just keeps losing them. He keeps losing them, and he has that one Super Bowl many years ago. I think it was like 2012. I have the Green Bay Packers taking second.
I am in 100% agreement with you. I think that the Green Bay Packers basically said, you know what, Aaron Rodgers, thank you for your service. It's time for you to move on. Because I think that with the way that they drafted, like you talked about, getting a guy in A.J. Dillon, getting Jordan Love, and many weapons that honestly aren't suited for a veteran quarterback to kind of make some plays and do something with them, or even trade those picks and try and get some weapons, whether it was Odell Beckham or Jarvis Landry or whoever else they were trying to go for. They just didn't do any of that. And there were people on the market that they could have signed. They didn't do that. So I think Matt LaFleur is kind of being two-faced with Aaron Rodgers in terms of basically saying, hey, look, we are now officially moving on and we're going to be going with Jordan Love as our starting quarterback. And the question for me is, I don't know why Aaron Rodgers would even play around with the idea of him staying in Green Bay this year. If I was him, I would demand a trade, because your team has not taken care of you with weapons, with the defense. The defense looks as garbage as ever, even though I like Adrian Amos. But the defense just looks garbage and was not the defense that it once was in the late 2010s, or the early 2010s, I should say, because they had so many weapons. They had a Clay Matthews. They had some great cornerbacks. They had some great safeties. I mean, this team really is not doing a great job at making sure that Aaron Rodgers has what he needs to bolster his squad. It just, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm demanding a trade now, because they obviously don't care about me. They don't want to see me win. They want to see a young quarterback in Matt LaFleur, who is apparently this great offensive genius, just kind of take over.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, the Vikings are going to have a really good year. I think Mike Zimmer is a good coach. And I think, Kirk Cousins has actually been impressive, although he hasn't been impressive in the playoffs. He's had great regular seasons, and yes, they lost Stephon Diggs, but they added Justin Jefferson, and if Adam Thielen can stay healthy, those are going to be two wide receivers who are going to be really hard to stop. They still have Kyle Rudolph at the tight end position. He's pretty good. And Dalvin Cook. I mean, so they really they took more of a sidestep. Well, I think the Packers just got a year older and honestly took a step back with their drafting. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be happy. As far as the Vikings go, they really bolstered their defense. They added in new corners, new safeties, and they already have, one of the best two safeties in the league, but their corners were issues, and now they, hopefully will have that fixed. I think it was Jeff Gladney out of TCU that they drafted, who's a really good corner. They improved their defensive line with Michael Pierce. And I think that they're going to have a breakout year here. So just looking at it, I think that the Vikings are going to end up taking first here, which they've been struggling to do for a long time, get past that hump of Green Bay. But I think it's almost the perfect storm with Aaron Rodgers kind of getting screwed over by his own front office, and them really telling him that we're building for the future. We don't expect you to do anything.
Yeah. And I'm wondering now, is this going to be a trend for the Green Bay Packers as soon as they get their star quarterback, that they're just going to be drafting a guy in the first round that they like and just kind of grooming him with the starting quarterback? I mean, Brett Favre did it. Now Aaron Rodgers did it. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be a pattern and trend that we're going to see from the Green Bay Packers from here on out. But like you said, I think the Minnesota Vikings added some great players. Justin Jefferson, a wide receiver out of LSU that Justin Burrows had great connection with. I think he's a decently good player that could help replace Diggs in that aspect. I know that they had to trade away Diggs due to some kind of issues with the front office. But they also did a good job of getting Ezra Cleveland. I think he's a great player as well. Lineman out of Boise State, who could potentially be taking over and be placed wherever that they need him in the line. Tyler Higbee, another great player that they picked up. Just a lot of good defensively. They're probably one of the best in the division, I think. I mean, besides the Bears, I think that the Vikings have one of the best defense in this division, and even the NFC, to be honest. I mean, I know that they're nothing like our Seahawks defense back in the day, but they're still a decently good defense. I like Eric Kendricks. I like Anthony Barr. Even their linemen like Hunter Daniel. There's a lot of great pieces in this defense that I really enjoy. And the question is now going to be for me, can the Minnesota Vikings get over the hump, win a playoff game, and see if they can't get into the big dance game in the NFC Championship? Because to me, I think the Minnesota Vikings, they're not going to be satisfied with winning the division. I think they're going to be satisfied with, can they get to the NFC Championship game and at least contend? And this is all going to come down to whether or not Kirk Cousins can even kind of get over the jitters or whatever is kind of the mental block that he has, where if it's a big game, he just chokes under pressure.
Yep, I completely agree there, and I think that this could be the year that the Vikings will be able to get over the hump, but it's really going to depend how that playoff schedule lands, and who they have to go up against, if it's a favorable matchup or not.
Right. So let's go over it again really quick. I had the Detroit Lions in 4th place. I had the Chicago Bears in 3rd, Green Bay in 2nd, and Minnesota in 1st. Sean, who did you have again?
I had the Bears in 4th, Lions in 3rd, Packers in 2nd, Vikings in 1st.
All right, guys, and let us know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think is going to win this division? Also, do you guys think that the Minnesota Vikings can get over the hump? And also, what do you think of the Aaron Rodgers news? Do you feel like he was cheated by his team? Do you think he should demand a trade? Let us know in the comment section down below. But before we go, Sean, do you have any last words to say to the fans out there?
I guess, doesn't really matter who wins this division because go Hawks.
All right, guys. Like I said, remember to hit that like button. Also, remember to hit that subscribe button. We're a couple subscribers away from 700, and we need 10 likes on this video. Like I said, guys, we'll catch you on the next video. Please like and subscribe. Peace.
Later.